Tottenham TV here, back again with another live stream for you people. Brian Daigle's just getting himself ready. Don't worry about that. Let's not mention it. Let's not concentrate on it. How are we doing, Brian? He's in the building. We've got a massive game on Sunday against Manchester United in what is a very pivotal game for our season and the way things are going. And it's one of the most interesting games for us of the season in terms of debuts being made, in terms of players coming back from injury. But first of all, Brian, lovely to have you back again helping us with the videos. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very, very good, my man. I'm doing very good. I hope everyone else is. Just bracing ourselves for a very big snowstorm this evening. So got to get lots of things done before it comes in. But apart from that, it's almost game day and we're all good.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's a very exciting game this weekend. I know Man United away is usually not a very happy hunting ground for Tottenham. But look, this weekend there's a lot of reasons to be positive. Before we get into the match preview with all the, how we think the game's going to go, we do have a Tottenham update to give you and to, go through, give all the latest news that has been going on with Tottenham over the last 24 hours or so. So, without further ado, let's get into that and let's see what is going on with Tottenham on the news front. We'll start off with some injury updates. And Ange Postecoglou has been talking in his press conference about team news going into the game on Sunday. He confirms that Ben Davies is set to be out for at least a month or so with a hamstring injury. Unfortunately as well, he confirmed Giovanni Lo Celso has picked up the hamstring injury and his time frame, shockingly, is going to be a similar time frame to Ben Davies as well, which is very worrying considering we thought it was a minor issue and, we were hoping he'd be back within a game, but he's set to be out for about a month, which doesn't bode well for Lo Celso, given his previous injury problems that he's had. And interestingly, he said with Lo Celso, it's a complicated issue which they have to get to the bottom of, which is an interesting comment for him to say when it comes to Lo Celso. In regards to Cuti Romero, there are rumours he was going to be fit for this game, but Ange Postecoglou was quoted as saying, the only one to join the main group today is Romero. He's just started training, but it's fair to say it might be a bit close this weekend. So hasn't completely ruled him out, but is suggesting probably not going to see Romero returning just yet this weekend. But when it comes to the news about Lo Celso and Romero, what's your reaction to it? Lo Celso a month out again, Brian. It's very frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, the Lo Celso one. Listen, what I will say, the injuries we're picking up seem to be hamstrings. And speaking to a few people that are Celtic fans, said, you know what, this is exactly what happened to us with Ange Postecoglou until they got up to his fitness standards. Then this stopped. So you look at it now, and I believe, I don't know if you mentioned as well, Scarlett seems to have done the same thing.
Scarlett, yeah.
He was fine at Ipswich. He's come and started this training, and his hamstring has flared up as well. So I think this is a lot with getting to Ange's peak physical condition that we need him to be. And once, apparently, with the Celtic fans from what I'm hearing, once they got there, this very, very rarely happened. But now, very quickly on Romero, I've got a funny feeling this could be do you remember Human Sun with Jose Mourinho when we won 6-1? Where he wasn't going to even be in the team, and then all of a sudden there he popped. I have a little feeling that'll be it, but I'd rather he be fit for Man City anyway. Gio Lo Celso, it definitely needs to be looked into, doesn't it? This just continuously happens when it comes to Gio, with other managers as well, not just here with Ange Postecoglou. And it's a huge concern because, as we've said, his ability is there for all to see, as well as his ability to stay, or inconsistency to stay fit, is there for all to see, and it's an issue.
It's a very big issue, and it's something that's plagued him, throughout his time at Tottenham, isn't it? And it's it's probably the biggest issue when it comes to him being a success at this football club, is getting him on the pitch. That's been the number one problem. And yet again, even this season, I remember earlier in the season, he picked up an injury. I think it was just before one of the international breaks, out of nowhere it seemed. He picked up an injury at half-time in the Fulham Carabao Cup game, didn't he?
Yep.
He started that game, picked up an injury. We didn't see him again for about a month. And then it was, it wasn't that long ago. It was after, I think, the City game. He picked up an injury and was missing for maybe one game and then returned. And now again, he's picked up another injury in training, it seems, and could be set to miss about a month out. And thankfully, look, Kulusevski's proven he can play in midfield. So in terms of selection, it's not like the biggest issue. It would be a bit of an issue if maybe we didn't have that option with Kulusevski and Maddison remained out. Maybe we'd be a bit more worried about who's going to play in midfield. But thankfully, Kulusevski's really stepped up in that role. So I assume, Sunday he'll fill in there. But Lo Celso himself, I mean, it's probably going to be the thing that is going to stop us maybe him having a future here, because he's been really playing really well this season when on the pitch, and I've been really impressed with his performances. He's been getting back to the level that we were hoping he would, but it's just those injuries rear its ugly head again. It's very, very frustrating, and it seems something that he can't shake. It just hasn't been able to shake. And even Postecoglou implying, he said it's a complicated issue that we have to get to the bottom of. So even he seems to be getting a bit frustrated with it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. But the other thing to look at is another great reason why we got Werner in, because now Werner can stay on the left, which means Johnson stays on his strongest position, which means Kulusevski can drop there and help out till Maddison go back. So we've got the options. This is the thing with Gio Lo Celso. He's been very, very good when he has played this season. But how can Ange prepare for the FA Cup or prepare for an assault on getting top four and maybe more if he can't forecast when his players are going to be fit or not? You can't plan to say, right, Gio, I need you fit for this game, or he's going to be pivotal there, because you just don't know when he's going to pick up an injury. And this was before Ange as well. So it's not just Ange's training techniques, which may be an issue with whatever Conte was doing and then a different style of training coming in. But thankfully, we've got options up there with the likes of Werner now. But yeah, with Ange Postecoglou, how can a man possibly predict or plan ahead if you've got one player who can be no doubt a match winner on the pitch if you just can't rely when he's going to be available?
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing. In terms of Romero, you reckon it's a case of Ange, you said before, you reckon it could be a case of Ange definitely playing the cards close to his chest with Romero in terms of him being available. We'll talk about Dragusin in a minute, but we'll stick on Romero and about whether we'll think he'll play on Sunday. Obviously, we already saw like the likes of Bentancur came back and played after being injured, unexpectedly started against Bournemouth and played 60 minutes and kind of got thrown in with a plan of being taken off after an hour. The Spurs website, interestingly, said that Romero remains one of the long-term absentees. So when they reported on the Team News, the website, they didn't mention that he was back in training. Now in the press conference, Ange is confirming he's back in training, but the weekend could, he said, come a little too early for him. When it comes to whether if Romero is if it is true that he's only come back in training today, with Van de Ven as well hasn't returned yet from injury in terms of minutes on the pitch, is it a bit of a risk to start two players coming back from injury together rather than maybe one who's fresher like a Dragusin?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this yesterday, didn't we? And I said I think it's better to have a Dragusin on and bring a Romero on if available. If needed, putting the two together again after both coming back from long-term injuries, or not so much long-term with Romero. I think it's a risk. I personally I'd rather have Romero fit a lot fitter and safer, ready for the Manchester City FA Cup game than this league game by a country mile. I want him to be assured to have a lot more fitness and availability for Manchester City rather than Man U.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, the implication at the moment is that Romero won't play on Sunday, but as you say, he could easily be playing his cards close to his chest. So I think it's a case of wait and see on Sunday and wait for 3:30 and when the lineups come out, because we could definitely be in for a surprise. He was talking about Radu Dragusin, Ange Postecoglou. He's been speaking about him in his press conference, and he said, Ange Postecoglou said on his work permit, said, from what I'm told, his work permit shouldn't be a problem. If all the relevant paperwork comes in, then he'll be in the squad. He was talking about the fact that Dragusin rejected by Munich as well, and he said. First, we talked about the signing. He said we knew that that was a priority position for us in the window. We knew that if the right opportunity came up in January, we would move. We did a fair bit of work on it, and once we knew the direction we were going in, Johan and his team did a lot of background work on him. And after my chats with him, I could tell he would fit in perfectly. And also on his rejection of Bayern Munich, said, I don't try to sell anything. It's just a conversation about what I believe and my thoughts on them as a player and where they'd fit in. Part of the key is that they want to come to this football club, and I'm not going to bend their arm. And Jack Pitbrook as well confirming that Dragusin only made his mind up once he and his agent were on their way to the airport, which was when he informed Bayern that he wouldn't be joining them. So it clearly was a one that went down to the wire in terms of decision making. But what is your opinion on what he's been saying on Dragusin? Clearly, again, when he's saying, he's not going to try and sell anything, he's all about having conversations. We've heard that before, with the Maddison deal and things like that. So it's clearly a case of Postecoglou winning over Dragusin, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I heard from someone today that I was speaking to. Apparently, Lange had a hell of a lot to do with this this deal. He is all over this one. I thought he would be more embarked on Summer, the speed game, but apparently Lange had a hell of a lot to do with getting this over the line. So fair play to him. I've loved what I've heard from, not so much from his agent, but from Radu himself. It's wonderful things to hear, isn't it? It sounds like he had his mind made up from the get-go. He went with his heart and his gut, and it's things you really want to hear. I think the paperwork will get done. I think the paperwork will get done as in for his work permit and his visa to be able to play. And I'm very excited to see what this young guy can do.
Yeah, and it will be a case if Romero isn't ready that he's definitely going to be thrown in the deep end. And as a young defender, it's going to be a challenge. I know Man United aren't having the best of times at the moment, but it's still going to be a very difficult game. And Højlund is a very physical striker if he's the one who is picked up front for Man United. So he's not going to have an easy ride. But I think he's the kind of character who's going to relish that challenge. He seems like the kind of guy who can't wait to be put under the spotlight and can't wait to get going. The only worry is he'll only have one training session, which is today, to kind of get acclimatized to how Spurs want to play and how he's going to fit in. So is that too much information, in one training session to kind of get chucked straight in? Is it even a case of would Emerson, be a better fit to start this game just because he knows the system, or we've seen already with Van der Ven, he chucked him in straight in with little training sessions. So do you think he will?
I think he will chuck him in. I think he'll chuck him in. These players, when they come in, hopefully, obviously he's been playing regularly and well for Genoa. That's why we've gone and got him. So his fitness isn't going to be an issue. Obviously, there's a difference completely in style of play. And if he can take that information on board, got to remember as well, Manchester United, that place is going to be bouncing because Ratcliffe's going to be there. Their new money is coming, so it's going to be that kind of atmosphere when we went to Newcastle when they had their first game with the new owners and we burst their bubble, and hopefully we can do this one. And again, Emerson, I think, is another one that can come off the bench if Romero doesn't. I don't expect Dragusin to last the full 90 minutes if he does start, but we'll see what he can do. But I do think he starts.
Yeah, that's another good point, fitness-wise as well. Genoa play a very different way of playing than Spurs, and the centre-backs have to do a bit more work, I feel like, for Tottenham than they do for Genoa in terms of just how much ground they have to cover and all that kind of thing, because they play such a high line and they're going to have to be dragged and cover a lot of space, whereas Genoa, he plays in a back three and he's always got support around him and he's not going to be left vulnerable in one-on-one situations as much. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of... how he reacts to that and how he copes with the extra bit of workload. And we've seen already players pick up injuries. Even Van der Ven picked up an injury as well. So hopefully he'll be all right. Talking about another new signing, Teemo Werner, and Postecoglou was talking about him in his press conference as well, and he said, I thought it was a really good opportunity. I had a good chat with Johan about it, and I felt Teemo would be a really good fit for us. So really good quotes there from Ange Postecoglou and Teemo Werner. I'm really intrigued. I do think he's going to start on Sunday because of our lack of options in the forward line. And I'm so intrigued about how he is going to get on because we know at his very best he can be devastating if he plays in a system that plays to his strengths, and in a new environment, a place like Spurs where we play fast-paced football, and hopefully he's going to get chances. I think it's such an intriguing signing to see how he's get on, and I think Ange just put it perfectly. It's a really good opportunity, and I think that's the best way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, also I love the video that Spurs released where it showed Ange welcoming him onto the training pitch, and for them to welcome him in. I think he starts. I think he scores tomorrow. I really do. I think that the potential pace we'll have on that pitch is absolutely terrifying for any team. I think he comes on and sets the ground running. I think he's definitely going to feature heavily. I think this is also going to help Kulusevski, isn't it? Like we said, we've got a position for Kulusevski now with Lo Celso being out. So with him starting, it's going to be a good battle to see down the right or down Manchester United's right or left, and I think it's one he's going to win.
Yeah, and looking at the training sessions, in his first training session, I think it was yesterday, he definitely does seem to be training on the left-hand side, doesn't he? There was a bit of a question mark, is he brought in to play up front or on the left? I think it was mostly the consensus was it probably is on the left while Son is away at least anyway. That's where he'll be playing, and that's definitely apparent. By how he started off in training. So I can't wait to see him in action on Sunday. I really hope he has a good start to life. And obviously with Man United being one of the teams who are very interested in him, it's going to be very interesting to see how it'll be poetic if he gets off to a great start against them and gets a goal contribution or has a really good game and maybe show Man United what they're missing by not getting him. So can't wait to see him back in the lineup on Sunday. Some other relevant transfer news now to talk about. The Athletics, Matt Woosie, talking about Ollie Skipp, and he says Crystal Palace admire Tottenham midfielder Ollie Skipp, but he's not expected to be available for loan this month. Now, a lot of the talk has been about Højbjerg leaving, but do you think there is a possibility that maybe if we're getting all interest from Skipp, that he's the one who leaves and gets replaced by Conor Gallagher in terms of the homegrown status kind of thing?
I do you know with this one, Simon, I can see why Palace would be interesting. I think he'd do very well at Palace. I think this is all waiting. There's always that transfer where one domino falls and then it sets it all off. I think this midfield for us is set around one of these two going. I think if one of them goes, it's still Højbjerg. But if Skipp comes with us, if Gallagher becomes available, and it's going to be easier to get the Palace deal done for Skipp to get him out and then bring Gallagher in, then I think we'll go that way. But I think if there is one to go out the two, it's still Højbjerg. That's my not preferred one to leave, but I think the favourite out of those two that will leave.
Yeah, I think you're right, but it'll be interesting to see if there is genuine interest in Skipp and we're struggling to get rid of Højbjerg, whether we consider those offers for Skipp and decide to keep Højbjerg instead. I think that's maybe one that will develop later in the window. And lastly, we're going to be talking about Conor Gallagher again, which, is a story that just doesn't seem to go away. The Athletic are reporting that Conor Gallagher was close to joining Tottenham during the summer transfer window. The club were and remain seriously interested in signing him. Chelsea are not currently in talks to extend his contract and would sell him for around £45 million. And Ben Jacobs comments on the story saying, Conor Gallagher is not actively for sale, but Chelsea would likely accept a guaranteed fee of around 45 million and an overall package of around 55 to 60 million. Tottenham are now expected to focus on signing a central midfielder and are yet to discount a move for Gallagher. However, they did not want to pay above 35 million in the summer. I mean, 35 million obviously is very cheap for someone like Gallagher in this current market. We're never going to get him for that price. But again, multiple sources claiming Chelsea are still willing to sell Gallagher for around that 45 million fee. For me, I just have question marks whether Gallagher has a willingness to come to Spurs, whether he really wants that move, and I think that might be one of the sticking points when it comes to getting this deal over the line. But it is a story that doesn't seem to go away, and when you're looking at that price point for a player who's 23 years of age and would really fit our system perfectly, is it one that is, do you reckon there's any chance this one can get done before the end of the window?
As I said to you, I before thought that this is just agency talk, trying to get him a bit more money with all the new players at Chelsea that are coming in would have surpassed his wages. But as you keep saying, it's the story that just won't go away, will it? It doesn't matter
Mhm.
how many times, it always comes back to this one. Whether Chelsea would deal with us, whether he would want to leave Chelsea to come to us, is up in the air. A lot of people like him. I loved him at Crystal Palace. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the whole Chelsea thing that it's not for me. I really don't know. But if he came, I'd support him. Um, I just don't know. I think this one is a summer one again. I just can't see it unless there's something that materializes right at the death. I can't see it happening. But if it does, it does. But like you said, it just will not go away.
Yeah, it's probably one that if it does happen, it will be a late deal near the end of the window. I don't see Tottenham parting with a significant fee like that without trying to get the best price possible. And that is going to happen only, at the end of January. So again, it will depend on where Gallagher and Chelsea stand. If maybe Chelsea sell different players. I know Ian Matson has left the club. He's on loan to Dortmund. So I don't know what their position is when it comes to how much they need the money. Maybe a surprise bid for a different player of theirs will come in and they won't have that need to sell Gallagher. But if they are struggling to sell, and maybe they need to bring a striker in, then they might have to be a fall guy, and it might have to be Gallagher. And if that is the case, then I think Spurs should definitely be there, ready and waiting to pounce. Because I think it's clear that Ange would want him. But again, is it a player who really wants to come to Spurs? And I think Ange does care about these things. Is he a player Is he a player being forced out and being left with no option but to come, or is it a player who really wants to be here and is desperate to join Tottenham?
Well, the other way I look at this Sim, as well is if Chelsea, if again, lose to Middlesbrough in the next round or the second leg of the Carabao Cup and they're out of the final, does Poch get fired? Does they then say, right, that's it, we're not taking any bids till a new manager comes in? There's so many moving parts to this. So many moving parts. I've said before that if we're going to go English, I'd rather we went for Morgan Gibbs-White. I think that guy's got more versatility. That would be the one I'd really want for. That's definitely not getting done. But you never know what's going on with Chelsea, do you? Because they could be, like you said, at the end of the window and just want to get money. Should Middlesbrough knock them out? Is that the final now in the coffin for Pochettino? Would Chelsea then want to deal whilst they're waiting for a new manager, or a new manager, if they have one immediately, want to sell him? There's so many moving parts to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess again a case of wait and see. Guess any updates, we will keep you updated. Be sure of that. But that is it for today's Tottenham update. Let me know in the comment section below of anything we discussed in the update and all your thoughts. Bye.